Now when it comes live, you guys let me know because I'm not sure. I think it's probably live now. Yo ho ho and a Merry Christmas, everybody, if it is live. You know, it's funny with YouTube, you hit the live button and you move away and go back and there's a little screen saying, are you sure you want to go live? It's like, yeah, that's why I hit the live button. Now, I hope you appreciate, got the Christmas hat on today. It's super hot. I think it's like, for my American friends, I think it's in the late 80s. For us in Australia, it's got to be in the 20s here in Canberra. Hello, everybody. Hey, Byron, you're here. Good man. Leslie, you still awake? We've been out. Oh, I'm going to be looking at, I've got this coffee here. I was going to give it a try. Starbucks. Not always a big fan of Starbucks, but they've got a Christmas blend, so I thought I'd get it. And it sounds really interesting. Distinctively cedary, spicy, layer and balance. Now, have I got my sound on properly? Let me just check that I have got the sound. It's bouncing up and down, so it should be good. So, vintage 2017 with the rare aged Sumatra beans. Any of you into coffee, we're going to give this a try. Tropical Lush, you've just got off work at Starbucks. How cool is that? Well, I'm not going to knock your coffee. I'm hoping this is going to be as good as they say it is. I think they bring this out. Am I right? They bring this out every year with a slightly different. Let me have a little read here. It says, aged Sumatra, which develops a depth of smoothness and complex cedary spicy notes, aged carefully monitored in the environment for 3 to 5 years. To this, we add the lively Latin American and mellow Indonesian bean, which balances the sweet richness. I haven't opened it yet. Careful the bot doesn't go too frequently. So I haven't opened it yet. I've never had this before. I'm going to pop it in the old coffee machine shortly. We're going to give this a try. So if you get, Michelle will be monitoring the questions, if any come through, because I can't always read them, a little bit far off, and I've got to remember to look up here at you guys, you ladies and guys. Did you notice the fruit bowl here, by the way? We were walking, scorching hot the last couple of days, and we're walking along the streets just behind where we're staying here, and there's these beautiful, they look like cherries, don't they? They're actually called, from what I believe, they're called cherry plums. Am I right, Michelle? Yeah. Cherry plums?
Purple leaf.
Purple leaf cherry plums. And there are just loads of them. There are loads of them. We just picked a few, and I'm always one for sort of taking risks. So I'm looking at them, I'm thinking they look pretty good. I'll give them a little bite just to make sure they are edible. And I won't do it just now. Anyway, I will. Took a little bite. Beautiful, beautiful sweet plum. Straight away you know it's a plum. It's not a cherry. It looks like a cherry. Purple leaf cherry plums. There are stacks of them. The birds are starting to get at them now, so we might go by again later and grab some, see if we can't make something with it. Got the silly Christmas hat on. Merry Christmas, everybody. Let's just have a look. Is there any questions there, Michelle?
I know Jonathan Mayhew says hello.
Hi, Jonathan.
And says Wendy Johnson, DRM, Jan A.
Hey, Jacob. There's Manjith in there, DRM, Jan A. Janice. Hi, everybody. Wendy's in. Good to see you all. Leslie was in as well. She might have fallen asleep. Wake up, Leslie. We are going to be, I've got to actually work away. I might as well get and open these beans up. They've got the typical Starbucks little seal on the top. Got a pair of scissors somewhere over here. So, spicy, peppery. Let's just cut the top off the bag. See why this is, all right. It's pretty dark. Oh, it smells dark. Can you see? Is the quality good enough? Oh, this is quite a dark roast. It's actually, they say it's a blend of their Sumatra. Now I can see, I don't know whether they've roasted them separately because there's some real dark, sweaty beans in here. Starbucks seem to, it's a bit like Hershey's Cadbury's. You know, Starbucks roast their coffee beans to the American palate. And it's why that there aren't many Starbucks in Australia. They tend to be only in the touristy centres, because our palate for coffee is quite a bit different to the American palate. The Americans quite like this sort of very rich, bitter style, which the French also like. And I can see straight away that this bean is quite a dark roast. It's got a real bitterness, like a dark chocolate, like a Bourneville chocolate, if anybody knows what I mean. In Australia, and Italian as well, when we've been to Italy, Spain, England, Great Britain, go for a much lighter roast than this, a more sort of, what's the colour, like a chestnut roast, a much lighter roast, which gives a sort of rich, smooth flavour. With this sort of roast, you get that dark, slightly bitter flavour. So if you like your Hershey's chocolates or your dark chocolates, I got a feeling this is going to be okay, but it's probably not going to be. It's not going to be exactly the sort of coffee that I would normally drink. Could you see it? Could you see how dark that was? Look at those beans.
Chocolate Lush says it keeps freezing, and then she said, but then we are having a blizzard.
It's probably my internet. We have the most appalling internet here in Australia. Wherever we go, I'm so sorry. The only way I'm ever going to get decent internet is to get out of Australia. What's wrong with Australian internet? It's so bad. Everywhere we've been, and we've been to about 8 or 9 places since we've been back, we're getting this really dodgy internet. So I'm hoping it's okay. I've adjusted the settings as low as I can. So let's take these beans. You've got my my Australian barista. I'm going to pop the beans in the coffee machine. What's going on there, Michelle? Is anyone commenting?
Well, Leslie is there. She says hello.
Hi, Leslie.
Maya Farmer says hello.
Hi, Maya.
Travel to Reed says hi, Santa.
Santa, where's my glasses, Michelle?
Glasses.
Look at the silly things I put on for Christmas spirit. Look at these. These are my SSS, my Santa safety goggles. How cool are those? Pretty stupid, eh? Bit of fun.
And Byron says, Michelle, what's your best tip for making whipped cream to perfection? Well, Byron, I get Steve to do it for me.
I've been making a lot of whipped cream, Byron, the last couple of days. I always like to, I mean, you need good cream, good strong fat in your cream. So you need a double cream, something with at least 38%, maybe 45% buttercreams in if you want to get decent cream. And then when you start whipping it, a lot of the creams we sell here in Australia are actually called thickened creams. They're not really thick creams. They've got gelatin in them. The old-fashioned creams, if they're sort of 40% and above, they should whip up thick fairly quick. But I like to whip my cream to just to the edge of turning into butter, so it gets really stiff. If you go a little bit too far, you get butter, and the whey and the butter. I've got a video on my channel where you can take cream that's gone off. So if you've got your cream and it's starting to smell a little bit ropey, let me just turn the camera around here a little bit so I can see you all. So when you've got cream that's started to go off, you can actually still make great butter from it, because the bit that's gone sour generally is the whey in the cream. If you beat that cream and you beat it until it turns to butter, the bad smelling part of the cream will actually separate out and you'll end up with really fresh smelling butter. So don't throw that cream away. You can actually, if you get to the end of your tubs of cream, just keep them all, pop them in the freezer until you've got, you know, enough that you want to make butter with, and then all you've got to do is just look at my video on how to make butter at home. I'll get Michelle to leave a link here somewhere as well so you can check it out. But you can literally take really horrible, rank smelling cream and turn it into beautiful, fresh smelling butter, and it'll last for days. Thank you, Byron. Any others? You asked some good questions, Byron, buddy. Always.
Ruby Slipper says hi.
Hi, Ruby. So yeah, it's freezing cold or just freezing. Look, I can see the red light keep flashing on here, so the quality of this internet connection is probably a little bit dodgy, but I'm going to push ahead anyway. I've popped my coffee beans, turn the coffee on, make a little bit of noise. We're going to grind. I've set this grind to make an espresso with this bean. So we've got the Christmas blend. And by the way, while I've got you here, I bought two different coffees. I've got the anniversary blend as well, because there's some anniversary, shows how much I pay attention, Starbucks anniversary blend. So I'm sure Starbucks have got some anniversary, whether it's 1 year or 20 years, I haven't got a clue. But they've got another coffee here, which is an anniversary blend. I'll try it another day and let you know what it tastes like. So we are dealing with the Christmas blend at the moment. I've got my my group here. I'll just turn the camera back around a little bit. Any questions there, Michelle?
No.
No. So I'm going to do a single shot. I'm going to do a double shot, but excuse me. Now, because those beans, you see, because they're dark and they're a little bit oily, they stick. And you'll often find that with your grinders as well. If you find you're using a darker bean, you might have to adjust the grind a little bit.
Critter T says, do you love the new coffee machine or coffee maker?
Do love or do I love?
Do you love?
Oh, I do, Leslie. I mean, it's a blessing for Michelle and I. We only have a couple of coffees a day, but we like to experiment and fresh ground coffee. Can you hear it stalling? You hear that stalling? That's because the oily beans are, the last beans I had in here were not so oily, so they were going through really smooth. I'm going to have to adjust this one down a little bit. I love the new machine. Did I see HE Penny Packers in as well? Merry Christmas, Tropic Lush.
She said, they said, does your Starbucks have a clover machine or any reversed batches?
A clover machine? What is that? I have no idea what that is.
Happy Traveller says, oh, nice coffee machine.
I don't know if it has a clover machine, because that sounds to me like something you would use in a meadow. But you could enlighten us. Tell me, what is a clover machine? And what was the second part of that question?
Or any reversed batches.
Reverse batches. I'm using an unhomogenized, I don't know what reverse batches are as well, so come on, fill us in. I'm using an unhomogenized pasteurized full cream milk, and this is a local Canberra Gold. We're in Canberra, by the way, if you hadn't guessed. So we're going to buy local milk because we can. So I'm going to have to, I'm just going to turn the wand on, turn the magic wand on. Can I take this off now? It's getting a bit hot. Get the hat hair out of the way. I'll tell you what I can do. If you like, keeping the festive spirit, I can put the silly glasses on now. I'm not going to do that either.
So Tropic Lush says, it's like a French press that takes out the bitterness and acidity. I can't say it.
Right. You see, French press is super unpopular here. It's not as popular as it is in the US. Now, did you say you worked at Starbucks?
I believe so.
Squeaking a little bit. So French press and drip coffee is just not popular in Australia. We tend to only have espresso coffees. People like to get that single shot out of the coffee beans, a rich all the flavour. French press and drip coffee draws more acidity out of the beans. So it's just not popular over here. They probably do have it, because whatever they tend to have in the US, they try to bring here. Starbucks, most of the coffee shops will not have it. Starbucks, by the way, let me just get over here. Starbucks tried to open in many of the suburbs here in Melbourne, and they failed. They just shut down because people wouldn't drink the coffee. It's not the style of coffee we're used to. We like the coffee in Melbourne is really good, by the way. I'm not saying we're not used to espresso coffee, but we're used to a different style of coffee, and pretty much 99% of the time we're getting espresso coffee. So it's cappuccinos, lattes, flat whites. So I'm just getting a nice foam on the milk there.
Annette says, "Hi Steve, I'm from WA, home of Starbucks." That must be Washington, not Western Australia.
When you say WA, we're thinking Western Australia. WA is where Perth is. Now we've been up to the home of Starbucks. I'm going for a latte, by the way. We'll see how this comes out. I reckon there's a little dial here. You can keep your eye on it if you want. There's a lever in there. If it's the perfect pressure for this particular bean, it'll be around the black area. We'll see. We'll get to see.
So VIP Picky Girl says, "Good morning from the UK."
Good morning, UK. Now look, the little bar here, yeah, it's moved up into the black section, so it's right in the centre, so that's pretty perfect. We should be getting a nice crema for those of you that care. I gotta find something to chat with you about, and I thought this would be fun.
HG Pennypacker says, "Starbucks here in the USA sucks as well."
Look, Starbucks is not my normal choice of coffee. Actually, at the moment we are drinking, just pass that one over, Michelle. We're drinking a Lavazza. It's an espresso, but it's quite a light roast. If I show you, it says it's espresso, but this is more an Italian. Look at the colour of those beans. Can you see the difference? Now, if you just hold that a moment, thank you, Michelle. If you see these two beans, can you see the difference in colour? Probably the quality is not going to be good, but you see, this is the Starbucks bean here, black as your hat, and this is the sort of coffee that we tend to drink here in Australia. This one, which is much more sort of caramelly. It doesn't have the bitter. If you roast your coffee quite dark, like the French and Americans do, you end up with quite a bitter coffee, which is what a lot of people like. But you do find in countries that tend to roast their coffees dark like that, that sugar is the corrective. Yeah, they tend to like sugar, because when you have a bitter coffee, you tend to add more sugar. Friends of mine, when we lived in France, used to have 3 or 4 sugars in a tiny coffee. Let's see if we can. Got some baristas in, so try and make it as good as I can. So I'm going to give myself probably nothing, to be honest. The foam's not coming to the top. Oh no, failed again. Failed again. Anyway, it's not about latte art, it's about coffee. Let's have a little smell. You see that? Straight away I'm getting dark Hershey. Do Hershey's do a light chocolate and a dark chocolate? I'm getting dark, smoky sort of flavours out of that coffee. Yeah, I mean, before I even drink it, I can tell that that's got that sort of burnt, ashen sort of flavour, a little bit like charcoal, a little carbon coming off of it.
Jan A says, "I can't drink coffee, but I love the smell of it."
The smell, oh wow, that's really intense. How did they describe it, Michelle? So they described it as complex cedary. Okay, I get that. You think of smoked cedar on a barbecue? Yeah, I get that. Let's not use their analogies. I do get that sort of smoked barbecue wood coming off of this. Well, it's not a coffee I could drink every day. It's not a coffee I could drink every day. It's very much like a what?
Need a mince pie with it.
Michelle's pointing over here. Look, little mince pie with a with a hat, with a umbrella. Sorry, not a hat. You need something. You see, I don't drink sugar. I don't have coffee with sugar. I think the only thing that would make this a little more palatable to me would be sweetness. And that's what I say with French press, French dark roast coffees, and quite a lot of the American style coffees. I do think they need sweetness to lift those sort of bitter notes. If you ever get a chance to try a coffee blend that's similar to what we have in, if you like, Italian roast coffee, actually, which is a lighter roast, but if you get Australian style roasted coffee, or UK and most European countries roast their coffee a lot lighter, like the Lavazza that I just showed you. If you don't have sugar in your coffee, it's the way to go, because it's a much creamier, smoother sort of flavour.
So, Annette Dunas says, what kind of weather have you got today?
We are super sunny. We were super sunny yesterday. It's coming into, it must be summer now, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, it's summer, because December we have Christmas. I'm trying to work out what we're going to do. For Christmas, because it's always so hot, and I love to have a nice roast ham on Christmas. But you can imagine if it's sort of like 100 degrees plus Fahrenheit, or in the sort of early to mid 30s Celsius, you don't feel like sitting down to a big roast dinner with gravy and turkey. And so in Australia we tend to go for lighter foods. It's nice to have a pavlova, it's nice to have a barbecue, stick some stuff on the barbie. It's all good.
Tropic Lush said, when was the last time you all seen snow?
Snow is not hard to find, actually, Tropic Lush. We're just near the snowy mountains here now. When you come up to Canberra, they often have snow up here. My daughter, just a few months ago, was snowboarding in the mountains just a little bit west of here. We do have snow, but the last time, you don't see snow in the main cities in Australia. You don't see really snow unless you're on Tasmania. Let me just turn the camera around a little bit. So, coffee review, just very quickly. It's a typical Starbucks flavour. It's probably very close to their house blend. If you've had Starbucks house blend, it's quite close. It might be a little more mellow, and I'm getting a sort of slightly smoky flavour off of it as well. And I'm going to get a mince pie. Just 1 minute. So we made some nice little mince pies. These are with my favourite pastry. Just need it to get a little sweetness in my mouth.
I can't read what their name is because it's in Chinese, Japanese. It says, what coffee shop is popular in Australia?
I think that's Korean, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
It might not be, I can't see it too clearly. We're very lucky in Australia that there are very few big brands of coffee shops that are popular. Well, there are one or two, but they're rubbish, in all honesty. Small coffee shops, independent coffee shops rule in Australia. Every suburb has their own coffee shops. Where we are now, there's probably, within driving or walking distance, there must be 15, 20 coffee shops, and none of them will be owned by the same people. They'll all be different. So,
Ruby Slipper says, sounds like we can boil ashes and be as satisfied as Starbucks.
They use a lot of French roast, okay? Was that Ruby?
Yes.
They use a lot of French roast, and they roast the beans within an inch of their life, so the beans start to actually sweat. You'll see on the surface of the beans a grease, like an oil that comes on the surface of the beans, and that oil is like a tannin. It's quite bitter. And you tend to find that in almost all Starbucks coffee beans. Their house blend is very similar. And it leaves the inside of your coffee machine all a little bit oily. Now, that sounds like a criticism. It's not. If you like that really dark, bitter flavour, it's perfect for you. But if you want a more sort of caramelly, nutty flavour, then you want to roast your beans a lot less. You want to get them to so they're sort of like walnut shells, you know, so they're that sort of colour.
Jelly Duck 100 said, would you rather only drink Starbucks coffee or only drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee?
Oh my God. Dunkin' Donuts is not coffee, is it? Is that coffee? No. To be honest, Jelly Duck, and welcome by the way, I would probably stop drinking coffee. If they were my only two options, I'd probably start drinking tea. Although, you see, Starbucks do have quite a few varieties. There's one I found the other day, and this one here, they've got a range. They've got a range in these gold packets. This one's called Willow Blend. Now, when you see a gold pack like that, it means that the beans are roasted a lot lighter, and these are closer. I don't know if you can get Willow in. These are closer to what we have in Australia. Not exactly the same, but I can drink this every day. This would be no problem to me at all. Whereas the Christmas one, I couldn't drink that. I'd start having to put sugar in it, and it's no wonder that Starbucks coffees are often sort of caramel based drinks, you know, the caramel macchiato, caramel blah blah blah, I don't know, give me some names. We parked outside a Starbucks, well, we parked outside several Starbucks in the US, and I could hear all the people pulling up to the drive-through, and what they were ordering was like, it was amazing, it was like poetry, you know, a caramel double fudge sundae macchiato latte, espresso with extra sprinkles, and you're sort of thinking, what are you ordering? And so we go and say, can we have like a flat white or just a cappuccino, please? They're like, you want fudge sundae ice cream dressing with that? And we're saying, no, I don't want fudge sundae, I just want it like that, no sugar, please.
Travel to Eat said, hi Steve, can you teach us choux pastry for cream puffs and eclairs?
One day. We've never got round to doing a choux pastry dish.
It's on the list.
Eclairs are my favourite.
Fresh cream.
With fresh cream. I keep rushing off. I'm not actually rushing off. Just in case Byron didn't believe me. Look, fresh cream. We've been actually making. Okay, here is my American latte. Sorry, you guys in America, but you do it a lot. So now I've got my Christmas. I'm going to pipe a big load of cream on top of this. Wow, it's going to overflow. And I know what you're probably all thinking. That looks nice. I've got some caramel sauce. This wasn't planned. This is a caramel sauce we were using on a drink we were making recently. Okay, on goes the caramel sauce. Where's that green sprinkles, Michelle? We've got some green sprinkles. Oh, don't worry if it's been put away. It's been put away. So here goes. Here is my Christmas latte. What would you call it? Christmas latte with cream and caramel topping. You see, now that's nice because that's a pudding. That's not a coffee anymore.
H.E. Pennypacker said most of Starbucks drinks are more like a hot milkshake instead of a coffee.
You're going to get your caffeine. That's what I mean. That's really delicious, but it's literally like drinking melted ice cream. Actually, I could put a bit more of that caramel on there now. Because the coffee's... No wonder in America they put this over all their coffees, because it does improve the flavour, but crikey, does it make it unhealthy.
Jan A says, my family coffee was always a social time thing when people came to visit.
Wow, that's just like melted ice cream.
Travel to Eat says, give me that coffee.
I bet you'd all have it now. The other one was really boring, wasn't it? This one is like, this one, can you see? I don't know if I can, let me just turn that down. Look at that. Whoops, look at that. If we'd had the sprinkles on top. Did I see Raggy in?
Raggy's in.
Hey, Raggy's in the house.
Says, what's up?
What's up, Raggy? Merry Christmas, Raggy. Merry Christmas. Who else is in it? Leslie, everybody. Jelly Duck, H.E. Pennypacker, Travel to Eat. Merry, merry, merry Christmas.
Annette says, send us some sunshine. It's in the low 30s here. It's the low 30s here.
It's in the low 30s here. It's in the low 30s here. Probably about 31, 32. Oh.
Say goodnight to Leslie. She's going to bed.
Night, night, Leslie. Sleep tight. Say goodnight to my barrister from Australia. Raggy, what were we talking about? Something you mentioned to me. Can't remember what it was. Oh, your car. That's right. Raggy and I, cheers, kindred spirits. We are brothers in arms. Michelle is just playing with this paperclip, which just reminds me of your car and my car. Raggy's got a yellow car too.
So food drinks in WA, Annette says. I don't know.
What is that, Annette? Good day, by the way. Man, that's sweet. Oh, Leslie, before you go to sleep, we've got a lovely loquat tree in the garden as well. Do any of you know what loquats are? You know, in the words of, who's the girl that sang Big Yellow Taxi? Joni Mitchell? Give me spots on my apples and leave me the birds and the bees. So these are loquats, and they grow here in Australia really well. If you haven't had them before, I want to make something with these loquats because they are so delicious. They've got a huge pip inside them, if you haven't seen them before.
Or two.
They quite often have 4 pips, 3 pips. I'll cut it open quickly so you can see. So, just cut it, it hits the pip, you just go round. It's actually, you don't normally, you just bite it normally, but I'll show you how many pips are in. Oh, it's another single pipper.
You keep getting those.
Normally they've got 3 or 4 pips in, but they're big pips. Look at the pip. It's massive. Loquats are so delicious. They're like a Victoria plum or something, aren't they? Sort of. Come peach, almost a peach.
Raggy likes them.
Everywhere we go, they're growing. Do you get loquats, Raggy, where you are? They're good. The cherry plums, perfect. The loquats, delicious. Everything's in season. The garden where we're staying at the moment is full of fruit. We've got the figs coming into season as well.
Ruby wants to know where the garbage man is.
The garbage man is long away, Ruby. Oh, he was here today, actually.
He came earlier.
But the house is not near the road, so we won't be having the same issue.
Yes, Raggy does get loquats.
Well, keep putting some ointment on them, Raggy, and they'll go away.
Travel Tweet said, looks like kumquat.
Very similar. Kumquats, loquats, I think they're the same family. I'm pretty sure they're the same family, but loquats, I'm not sure where they're indigenous to, where they originally came from, but we get a lot of them in Australia, and I've seen them a lot. They're fruiting at the moment, and I'll try and do something with them. Maybe we'll do a recipe with them and share it with you in the new year. Merry Christmas, Annette. How are you? Thank you. So Michelle, just go through the questions, see if there's anything there. Who was it who said they worked for Starbucks? Don't report me for knocking the coffee if it's nice with lots of caramel in it.
I think it was Tropic Lush.
Was it Tropic Lush?
I believe so.
So what have you all been up to? How are you all? All good. I'd love to get some feedback about what you guys are up to for Christmas, if you're going to be with family, what you're going to be doing. Michelle and I actually are traveling around Australia. Now, when I say we're traveling around Australia, it's not like we're just backpacking. We're kind of too long in the tooth for that sort of backpacking around the country. We're going with the yellow Jeep you saw, Eggy. And we're just stopping in towns. When we find a place we like, we'll stop for a month, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months, and just explore around and try and share some of that back with you, and try and get some of the food culture from Australia. So it's going to be lots of fun, but we're not literally backpacking. You're not going to be seeing us in a different location every other day.
So Raggy says, kumquats are more like citrus, very sour, but the skins are sweet and great to eat. The loquat is a native of China.
Right. The loquats can be quite sour if you get them just this side of ripe. They can almost like the kiddie sweets warheads. They can be quite sour, but if they're ripe, which these ones are, they're really sweet, like a plum peach sort of combination. There's some great fruits here that are only Reggie. I'll actually be showing you some fruits which you probably don't get in other parts of the world, only here in Australia. Finger limes are something that grow in Australia, and they're like a superfood at the moment, but they're pretty common. You can get finger limes here in Australia. They're really very delicious. They're like a sort of caviar fruit, full of little beads and really sweet, with a slightly citrus flavour.
So Annette says you get all kinds of add-ons in our coffee, i.e. cinnamon, whipped cream, 2% milk, almond milk, sprinkles, strawberries.
And so on and so on and so on. If you went into an Aussie coffee shop and you asked for all that stuff, you'd probably just get a blank stare. It's generally about the quality of the coffee that they're interested in. They're interested in providing the rich single shot of coffee with the right amount of good quality milk, so you get a real sort of kind of rich flavour. We don't tend to add a lot of stuff in our coffees. Most coffee shops, if you went in and asked for sprinkles on it, they'd probably laugh you out the shop. It's all about just a good strong coffee, not too bitter, doesn't often need sweetening. If you do sweeten it, it quite often is done with honey, and it's a social drink.
So I think that's what Annette's saying is foo-foo drinks.
Ah, okay. Can you hear that? That's the parrots. That's actually a lorikeet, I think. The beautiful lorikeets and parakeets here. There's the galah. We'll take you out in the next 5 or 6 days. I'm going to take you over into the bushland here and show you some of the wild parrots if we can get them. I don't know if I'll be able to do it with that sort of phone camera, but I'm hoping I can show you all the beautiful wildlife that's here. I haven't seen any sort of big mammals, but the birds here are beautiful. We saw a big flock of budgerigars yesterday over in the bush over a mile or so south of where we were walking in the bush, and there was a big flock of budgerigars came in, and you get a lot of wild budgerigars. They're indigenous to Australia.
Jan A says, I'm spending Christmas with my mum and a friend.
Oh, Jan, beautiful. Well, Jan, you give a big hug to your mum. Have a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you have a great time. H.E. Pennypacker says you've got to get going. So, Merry Christmas. Love to you. Be good. Anyone else shared what they're up to on Christmas, Michelle?
No.
Come on, share your Christmas stories with me. Otherwise, I'm going to throw my dummy in the corner and turn the live feed off. Well, no, I'm not going to do that, but you know what I mean.
Your pacifier.
I'm a pacifier. That's what is a. We call pacifiers dummies. I'm just going to cut the top of this loquat. So, if any of you haven't had loquats, I'm going to pick a load of them from the garden where we are, and I'll make something, maybe a tart or something with loquats.
Frangipani or something.
Frangipani type with an almond paste. That'd be nice. It's really hard for us to feel the same way our cousins in the north are feeling at the moment with the hot weather here in Australia. It's a lot different feeling come Christmas time than what it is. Are you having a mince pie, Michelle?
I'm having a
Look at this one. Pass it here before you look. Look, my little mince pie I had. Look at the mince pie she's having. Look at that huge, great big thing. See that little dinky little thing I had to have? And do you know what's on top of here? It is it's a coconut sugar, I think. So it's really delicious. Go on then, off you go.
Thank you.
Oh man, it's not fair.
So Jan A says, thank you. She's 91 this year and she's very active for the most part.
Wow. Well, Merry Christmas to Mum, Jan. She's almost as old as Raggy. Sorry, I tease you, Raggy. Pass me a star mince pie, Michelle, so I can show the guys what our star mince pies are like. So quite often when I make small mince pies, we rather than cover them as you normally do with a regular mince pie, it's quite good just to take a little star of pastry, of your short crust pastry, and just pop it over the top like that. And that makes a really nice Christmas mince pie. So if any of you are making mince pies, look at my hat here.
So Annette says, love birds. Are you going live on the bird watching?
Yes. I'll test the internet connectivity out there because it's bushland, and we'll hopefully be able to, because there's some beautiful birds. There aren't.
Travel Tweet's asking any kookaburra.
Kookaburras I haven't been able to see. Sometimes you can get really close to kookaburras. Quite often the chances you'll get close to a kookaburra is around a house where they land in the gardens and things. Really easy to film them then. They're often already a little bit accustomed to people. Out in the bush it's harder sometimes to get close to the kookaburras, but the parrots definitely. The lorikeets, the galah, budgies if we see them. Cockatiels. A lot of beautiful birds out in the bush. So yes, I'd love to see the old kookaburras, but I haven't seen one yet. I saw one fly overhead, and have you finished that already?
No.
Nearly?
No.
She has. She's almost finished it. Thumbs down this video because Michelle's eating all the mince pies. And thumbs up the video. This has gone really creamy. It's not my favourite. Okay, it's a great coffee, by the way, if you like your stovetop coffees, your percolator style coffees, or your French presses. Raggy, I'm sorry, man. I think probably I'm going to call this one a day. I don't know what we can do. We've actually got a technician coming to look at the internet next week, early part of the week. So hopefully by next week we might have a better connection. It's just everywhere I've been in Australia we've had bad internet, and even when we've had what they class as the new NBN, it's been really poor. But you know, everybody else in the world is doing live streaming. I feel that we should give it a go. So hopefully it's bearable. It keeps going red though, Raggy, I can see that.
Raggy says, I have family in tonight, so I have to run. Did a full Cajun meal for them tonight. I'm getting ready to cook 3 turkeys and a duck for Christmas dinner. And hey, ain't nobody older than me.
Raggy, enjoy 3 turkeys and a duck. You could do a turducken. You know, if you wanted to. You've probably done a turducken before. You put your duck inside your turkey, or your... Yeah. You have to, Raggy, you're going to probably tell me you've done it, but you have to bone out the duck, which isn't too difficult to do with a boning knife. You can just turn the thing inside out and bone it out, and you stuff it inside your turkey with a lovely rich sausage meat stuffing, lots of beautiful nuts and apricots and things inside to sort of boost it out, and then you pop that inside your turkey and roast it. And ideally, you could bone out your turkey as well and go straight then and carve through. We've done that in the past. That's a lot of fun. Anyway, as the internet connection is not fantastic, can you just go through, Michelle, and check if we've got any messages that people... If you've asked a message and I've missed it...
Yes, Wendy, it was very delicious. I enjoyed it.
She did. Do you know that mince pie, Wendy, didn't touch the sides? I looked up, she had a mince pie in her hand, and I looked up again, and there was just a couple of crumbs on her keyboard. My, oh my.
So Annette says, Steve, can you make a chamorro dish? That would be a huge challenge, though. Don't know what that is.
Who said this?
Annette, just above the thumbs up.
A chamorro. I don't know, Annette, what chamorro is. Tomorrow. I shouldn't sing. Get into bother. Raggy, I get my guitar. My guitar's over there, and I'm lucky where I am at the moment. I've got a ukulele to play, which is kind of fun.
So Raggy says, any vids coming up on a good way to roast a duck? I've heard of the jerky, but the in-laws want a breast up roasted one.
Duck, Raggy, is not too difficult. I mean, there's not a lot of meat on a duck. It depends which duck you've got. There's two, the two varieties of duck. If you've got the old savage style, what are the savage? I know the French name for them. Sorry. There are different types of duck, but some have more meat on than others. Not a lot of meat on a duck, so I love to just use the duck breast, and I use my duck for stock and the likes. So probably the nicest way is to kind of copy the Chinese style crispy duck. And I've got a video actually. You could put that up, Michelle, just for Raggy to check out the crispy duck, the Peking crispy duck. I mean, when you do a Peking style crispy duck, skin side up, Raggy, you get a beautiful crisp skin. I mean, the skin becomes part of the meal, and it's so delicious that the meat is kind of incidental. There isn't a lot of meat on a duck, so good for you that you're doing turkey as well. Otherwise you'll be fighting everybody off. But you can then cut the duck up. You can sort of cut it and quarter it, and people can just sort of like grab it and chew on it. That's the way I would do it. If I wasn't doing it like that, I would literally cut the breast off of the duck, and I like to use. I love duck breast. So, Raggy, Michelle's just, if you're still there, Michelle's put up a link. You can check out how to make a Peking style duck, and that's the only way I like to do a whole duck.
So Annette says, Google the Chamorro Fiesta plate or dishes and let me know what your take is on it, please, please.
I will. I'm not sure.
From the island of Guam.
From the island of Guam.
So it says, at feast, rice and grated coconut was made into a broth or stew called atole in addition to salted fish. The chamorro's baked root.
Atole is like a masa-based drink, like a liquid. I know what atole is. That's made with masa, and that's often sweetened, or you add it. So we will look it up. It must have Mexican influence or South American influences then, yes? You check it out, Raggy. Enjoy. Merry Christmas to you all. What have you read? I've got this thing above my camera. Shall I show you it? Look, because I have a tendency in these live shows, I've got that stuck above my camera. Look here, because you have a tendency to look down at the screen all the time, so I want to keep looking at you guys. It's not like vlogging, though. I don't think it matters if I look down occasionally. I've got to read what you're saying.
Now Shah Lewis is in. Hi there, Steve.
Hey, Shah, how are you? Merry Christmas to you, Shah. Shah's been with the channel for almost as long as we've had the channel, I think, as a lot of you have. I am frozen big time. Sorry about that, Raggy.
And Shah's saying the same. You keep freezing again and again.
Oh. Right, I'm gonna call this off. We've had a bit of fun. Loved you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, Shah. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call this off because the internet's not so good. Hopefully next week we'll have slightly better internet. Fingers crossed, because I'd love to see you all again before Christmas. So next Thursday, I think that's about the 21st. It's a little bit before Christmas, so we'll have another little get together. And you may all be super busy. If you have a chance, check in. It'll be about the same time as this week. Pop in, say hello, and love to you all. Be good. Merry Christmas and thank you for being patient even though the internet seems to be freezing. See you next week. Ciao. Ciao, everybody. I've got to find the, go back to the panel which says stop streaming.